What's up, everyone? This is Ben with HighStrike Trading. Today, I'm going to be going over candlesticks and candlestick patterns, showing you what you need to know about what you're seeing on the screen, because if you're new, candlesticks are probably new to you as well. So first, let's dig into the basics of what a candle is. Okay, so we're going to be on my screen right here, and there's two types of candles mainly. We have a bullish candle and a bearish candle. Bullish candle is a candle in which the price of the stock moves upwards, and a bearish candle is a candle in which the price of the stock moves downwards. Simple as that. A bullish candle is indicated by the color green. You're going to see your screen and you're going to see something that looks like this. All right, so that's a bullish candle. Sometimes they're colored in, sometimes they're not colored in, but either way, that's what we're going to be looking at. Green candle. Red candle, same exact thing. It's going to look something like this. Right, you're going to have the rectangle, then you're going to have the bottom part and the top part, okay? So we're going to go over the terminology of every part of this candle, what it means, and what information it gives to you about the stock price during the time period. So the first thing to note, guys, is that every candle represents a period of time. If you're on the 1 day, 1 minute chart, it means that the entire chart represents 1 day and each candle represents 1 minute. If you're on the 180-day 4-hour chart, it means the entire chart represents 180 days and each candle represents 4 hours. So using the name of the chart that you're on, you can tell how long each candle is and how much information that candle is giving you about the stock. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that these candles are each 1 minute candles. We're on the 1 day, 1 minute chart. So that means that in this 1 minute that this candle represents, the stock opened at this price and closed at this price, right? So that means that the net movement in the stock price was here to here, okay? And in that time period, it also means that the stock was as low as here, that's the low, and as high as here. So the stock could have moved around as much as it wants in that 1 minute. The only thing that the candle's telling me is that it started at the open, it ended at the close. The lowest price that it ever attained during that period was the bottom of that line, and the highest price that it ever attained during that time period was the top of that line, right? And so those two lines extending upwards and downwards are called shadows. We have the lower shadow and the upper shadow. Now moving on to the red candle. We have, say, another 1 minute candle. That means in that minute, the stock opened up here, right? I just noticed that the open and close are reversed. Opened here, closed here, and then high and low are still the same. So this was the lowest price that was attained, and this was the highest price that was attained, right? So the net movement of the stock during this candle looks like this. And the net movement of the stock during this candle looks like this, right? So these are very stereotypical candles, right? They're pretty solid, right? There's nothing weird about them. Let's go into a couple examples showing some candles that are a little bit misshapen and trying to decode what's going on there. All right, so here are two examples of pretty weird misshapen candles. And we're gonna use the exact same analysis that we just did to identify where the open, close, high, and low prices were. So for this green candle, we opened right here and we closed right here. So that you can see the net change on this candle was relatively small. So the net change over this time period only looks like this. However, the high, right? Actually, the high was also pretty close to these two. However, the low price was way down here, all the way down there. So what this means is that the stock in this time period, let's just say it's another 1 minute, stock in this time period bounced around, getting as low as here and coming all the way back here. All right, so what does that tell us about the stock? This is telling us that we have a good amount of upward momentum, right? Because the candle closing right near the open, even though it got so far down, shows us that in the second half of the candle, or in the second part of the candle, whatever, we had a lot of upward momentum from the stock. So this is called a hammer. Actually, these are both called hammers if you haven't figured that out yet. So what a hammer is, if it's green, there's a long lower shadow, that means that it's a very bullish candle. And if it's red, we're gonna go over that in a second, it means that it's a pretty bearish candle. So for the red candle here, we opened here, closed here, and then this was the low. However, our high was all the way up here. So what does that tell us about the stock? We started here, and the net movement looked like this, but the overall movement looks something like this, right? And I know that's pretty messy. That tells us that there was a lot of upward momentum in the early part of the candle. That momentum got killed midway through the candle and then came crashing back down. So it's a very bearish candle. So those are called hammer candles. They can be very bearish, very bullish. Just depends on the shadow. So what we're really looking for in a hammer candle is where the large shadow is located. So if it's on top, that's a very bearish candle. If it's on the bottom, it's a very bullish candle because of all that momentum going up or down in the second half of the candle. And then the final example that we have today are full-bodied candles, right? And so I have two candles side by side, and what we're seeing that we're missing from the other candles that we've drawn is we don't have shadows on the top or the bottom. Doesn't mean that the high and low prices aren't marked though. So if you don't see a shadow, here's what you're looking at. You're looking at the top of the candle for a green candle. That is the high price, and it's also the closing price. For the bottom of the candle, that's the open price and also the low price, right? So that means the candle opened down here, and that was the lowest point it was in the entire time frame, and the candle closed up here, and that was the highest point it was in the entire time frame. So that's a complete vector showing beginning to end, and there's nothing on either extreme of the high and low. Same thing with the red candle. If you see there's nothing, no upper shadow, that means that the top was both the open and the high, and the bottom was both the close and the low. So the vector of this candle looks like this. All right, and so the open was the high and the close was the low. So what do each of these candles mean? So if these candles are relatively large, or even if they're not really, it indicates a lot of momentum in their direction, right? So showing that the stock only went from the open to the close in the green candle here, only went from the open to the close, it shows us that there's a lot of upward momentum. So this is a very bullish candle. BU, I guess we'll put for bullish. And I guess we'll write the word out. Bullish. And so for this red candle here, what we see is the open was the high and the close was the low. So what we're looking at is a long vector from the high to the low, indicating a very bearish candle. Excuse my handwriting. So that's another great example of how you can determine a stock's movement based on just the candlesticks. Candlesticks give so much more information about the stock than just a line does, and it's always a good idea to do your analysis on a chart that has candlesticks. That being said, guys, you should never choose a position based only on candlesticks. These are a contributing factor to how you take your position, right? We don't ever want to be doing analysis that's just relying on candlestick analysis. Candlestick analysis is meant to be a supplementary thing that you do in conjunction with your price action, with your indicators, all of that. All right, so there it is. You just learned all about candlesticks. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you think you liked it. Make sure to comment down below if you have any questions, and hit the subscribe button if you're interested in this kind of video. I will see you in the next video.